Hey everyone, welcome to tonight's live stream. We got an awesome interview lined up for tonight. Joining Marcus and I is Bill Slevin, a world famous paranormal investigator and demonologist. You may have seen him on the Travel Channel's The Devil's Academy and all his great work he's done in the field. And especially with the Paranormal Existence Research Society. Along with Bill, we got Tom Springer, who runs the Nebraska team. Tom has some seriously cool abilities. We're going to get into those. We have Stephanie. I'm going to butcher this name, so she's going to have to correct me afterwards. Uh, Elgadi, who heads up the Georgia team and is a psychic medium. And Connie Katana, a shaman and hypnotherapist from the Florida team. And we are super excited to have you all here. Let's kick things off. Let's bring them in here. Why don't you have everyone introduce yourselves?
Sure.
First.
I'll start.
Who's going to start?
I guess I'm Bill Slevin. I'm a paranormal investigator, researcher, educator, parapsychologist, and demonologist. I've been in the field for about 35 years now. I travel around and at conventions and libraries and schools, and we try to not only entertain people with what we do, but also educate them on what's real and what's not. And my team is a very unique team. They're well versed in many, many things outside of the paranormal because we're focused on residential investigations. So we try to, help people in the best way we can.
Okay. Very nice.
Awesome.
Who's next?
Lady?
Tom?
I was gonna let the ladies go first.
Ladies first.
Yep.
Go ahead,
no,
Stephanie.
I'm not there yet. Go ahead, Connie.
Oh, okay. So I'm Connie Katana. I'm a clinical interpersonal and transpersonal hypnotherapist. I actually work with clients all over the world. I do things like past life regressions and things of that nature, and it's always a lot of fun. I've been a paranormal investigator throughout multiple lifetimes, I'm sure. I am an Incan Peruvian Caro shaman. I have been on multiple streaming platforms. I'm with the Warren Legacy Foundation for paranormal research, and we forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I forgot that one.
Yeah, Bill, how did you forget that? And I am head of the West Coast chapter of Florida for the Paranormal Existence Research Society. And I think that, and I do remote viewing and Reiki Master and all that cool stuff. So I think that's it. So I didn't take up too much time with my intro, as I normally do.
My name is Stephanie Elgadi. I head up the Georgia division of P.E.R.S. I'm also with the Warren Legacy Foundation with Bill and Connie, helping people through that foundation. I have my own team apart from, I hear an echo. Do you guys hear me echoing?
You're good.
Okay, I'm going to mute
Okay.
myself just in case it's me. Okay, maybe I
It was
can.
just a little weird. I am new to investigating out in the field. I've only been doing this for about 3 years. And during that time, I have just been like a sponge. I've soaked up everything that I can, even till, now. I continue to ask questions. My questions have questions. I'm always learning, trying to expand my knowledge, figure out how to explain things, figure out how, why is this one way and not another for some people. Everybody has their own experiences, and I'm just out there to learn and have fun and help people at the same time. I really don't know what to call myself. I just don't like labels.
Yeah.
I very squirrely, as you can see. Like, my attention span is probably worse than a toddler, and that's it.
Very cool.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, my name's Tom
real.
Springer. Yep.
Go ahead.
You want to go, Marcus?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. My name's Tom Springer, and I run the Nebraska division or the Midwest division of the Paranormal Existence Research Society for Bill Slevin. I have actually only had my abilities for about 3 years, but they hit me like I was drinking from a fire hose, and they're plentiful to say the least. Um, I have been lucky enough to have been picked up by this team by Bill because of my abilities, and I have reached out to pretty much everyone on the team at some point to ask for assistance or guidance in one way or the other, and something I've been looking at. I also have my own team out here called Sixth Sense Investigations, and I also, if I look familiar, besides the show, it's because I also have my own podcast on Monday nights, and it's called Stuff I Never Learned from a School Book. But um, like was mentioned before, we'll probably get into some of the abilities later, so I won't bore you all with it right now. So,
And I just wanted to say one more thing because we did forget. So me, Stephanie, and Connie are all on the Warren Foundation. So me and Stephanie are both managers and directors that help run the entire Warren Legacy Foundation. And if you don't know what it is a foundation that was created by Lorraine Warren and Chris McKennell, her grandson, before she passed away, to help carry on the legacy of helping people across the world for free. So we got about, I think there's like 100 members all across the world right now.
Awesome.
Very
That is
cool.
Amazing.
Very
is
cool.
Can I give a shout out to my Georgia team,
Of
Peach State
course.
Paranormal, Kelly, Michelle. Don't know if they're watching, but
Hello.
I would also like to say, because I'm in Tampa, and we just experienced a tremendous hurricane here. And so anybody that has been affected by the storm, we are definitely thinking about you. I was very, very fortunate not to have been hit too hard where I'm at, but I know that some people experienced a lot of devastation. So,
Yeah.
just anybody that's out there, our hearts are with you guys.
absolutely.
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 Thank you for sharing that as well. Any of you guys want to shout out anyone else who's watching? Tom, Bill, Marcus?
I mean, the whole team, my wife who's on the team also, she doesn't investigate.
No?
She's just like an energy healer, and she helps with some of the clients, but she doesn't like to investigate.
Okay.
Okay.
It's not her thing.
That's okay.
I guess we'll start off with, I got all these questions here to ask. We'll start this one off for Bill. So you said you've been investigating for over 35 years now, and more recently you've been featured on the Travel Channel's The Devil's Academy. How has your approach to the paranormal investigations evolved over the years, especially with advances to technology?
Well, there's, when I first started, like we said, there was not much out there. You had very basic things. We did things back then a lot of people don't even know about today, putting bells on cabinet doors and using flour and using all kind of weird things back then. I love the technology because I'm in the technology field. I've been an IT director for 33 years, so I follow the technology very well. I also know how a lot of that technology is flawed at times and what causes it to produce false positives and things like that. So I enjoy it. I mean, when we go and do a person's home, we don't use 90% of the technology. If you ever saw, I have a ridiculous amount of equipment. I do. That's the problem with being in the IT and doing this. If I go out and somebody has a device, I'm like, where'd you get that? you know, so I like to test everything. We like to try everything out. I won't discredit something immediately. I want to see what it does, but we don't use most of that stuff in a person's home just because so much of it can be flawed at times. Doesn't mean it doesn't work, and doesn't mean it's all fake or anything like that. It's just that some of it is flawed. Like we learned with a REM pod. Everybody thinks that a REM pod, the only way you could set it off is by breaking the field or maybe a really hard vibration. But if you push the button on a walkie-talkie, it sends the REM pod off. So there's a lot of different things like that. Like that's what I tell people when we're trying to teach them. Take the equipment and use it, but learn how it works. I definitely enjoy playing around with a lot of the new technology.
Very cool. Marcus, you want to add anything to that, or you have a question for Bill?
Actually, I mean, I have a question that maybe any one of you guys could answer. So you guys have been in this field now for a little bit. I know Stephanie, you said you just started kind of getting out there into the field just now, but what is like the scariest moment that you guys have ever, or if there has been any scary moments, like has there ever been a moment where you guys were like, I kind of want to get out of here? I know me and Nick have had this moment before. We've had this moment many times investigating where we're just like, yeah, I think it's probably time to go. Or do you guys kind of just stick with it and just go for it till the end?
I have a story about that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And this story is actually going to be on a show called Paranormal Revenge, and it is already aired in Canada. It has not aired yet here, but I don't know when it's going to air. But essentially, I've been a paranormal investigator since I was a kid. Like I was really, really into it, but at the same time, I was afraid, and I wanted to, set these boundaries. Like I want to see stuff and have experiences, but only when I'm with other people, because I was afraid if I saw something by myself, I would just like fall down on the floor and die and wait for somebody to come find me, because I just, I would feel energy and see things. And to me, everything was just bad because it was different. And I didn't know how to discern, what was good or malicious. And that's a whole other story. But my office was actually the worst place that I have ever had experiences in. And that was, something that I felt like I couldn't handle. This spirit was literally tormenting me. He was targeting me for a few years, and I could not figure out what to do. It was really, really bad. It was threatening. He was doing all kinds of things to me, and I've never encountered anything that strong in my whole entire career. But it helped me to really seek out different ways of helping other people. I could have moved out of my office, and I decided not to do that. But there were plenty of times where I was really scared, and I just refused to leave. And I just kept trying because I was like, I'm not going to be defeated by this. And so that helped me learn and grow and seek out so many different things, work on my own abilities. So I'm actually grateful for that experience that I had. And, I welcome new things that, you know, may be kind of shocking. I don't get scared anymore. It's more of a curiosity. It's more of like, huh, that's interesting. I see a giant cockroach
Okay.
that's 5 feet long coming down a hallway towards me in the pitch black, which is something that happened. And I'm just like, that's really weird.
Right.
Um, so you just kind of learn to look at it through the eyes of curiosity instead of fear. And that's my story
Okay, that's
in a
awesome. Thank
nutshell.
you. Thank you for sharing
For,
that. Thank you for sharing that.
Nice.
I was gonna say for me, it's funny when I started, um, all the things that what you're talking about that a lot of people say, oh, that's it, I got to get out of here, I got to run. Those were the things that gave me more questions, made me want to get into it more. Like I said, in anything demonic. First of all, any of the cases I've been part of that were demonic are the most horrific things I've ever been part of. But all of those cases, I think almost every one that I was part of, the teams that called me in that were doing the case never did this again after what they experienced. With me, it was different. It's what kind of launched me into it. The first case I had, I've talked about before many times. The first case I had turned out to be a rare demonic case where the guy next to me got full on attacked, and they stopped. They never did it again. But I wanted to know why. Why did it attack him? Why, like,
Right.
why didn't it go after me? What was it? Why was it there? I mean, I had so many questions. So, you know, I don't enjoy going on those cases, but I do it to help people. And I don't, I wouldn't say I run out, but those cases definitely frighten me.
So, Bill, I know that you've been in this field for like 35 plus years, right?
Yep.
Around 35
Yeah.
years.
35
Do you
years
find
actively investigating.
actively? Okay. So, do you find that now more you get in touch with more demonic entities than like spirit entities, or is it kind of just even out?
No, the demonic is very rare. I've
Okay.
done I've done around, we don't even know anymore. I've done around 1,000 residential cases, and I've been part of 7 confirmed demonic cases.
Okay. Okay.
So it is very rare. It's not like, you know, I don't talk bad about TV. I like the shows, I like all that stuff, but everything is screaming demons everywhere, and
Yeah.
it's not quite how it is. Yeah, it is a rare thing, and it a lot of times, again, how we all know how to judge things. So, like, a lot of things we deal with is mental illness, addiction,
Yes.
things like that, which you have to really understand because the demonic can mimic it, and the
Yes.
mental health can mimic the demonic, and it could be both. So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of different things in there like that, but it is honestly very rare. You hear about it more now just because everybody believes everything's a demon all the time, and
Right. Yeah.
but yeah, it's talked about more too, because you didn't hear about it back in 20 something years ago.
Right.
People didn't talk about it much. Now that it's out in the open because of TV shows and everything, people can talk about it without being locked up.
Right. 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 Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that story.
Thank you.
Sure.
I got a question for Tom.
Sure.
So you said you discovered your paranormal abilities later in life during an investigation. How did that experience change the way you see the world, and like how do you continue to develop those abilities as well?
Well, it answered a lot of questions that I didn't even know were questions from the past. For what I used to do, weird stuff would happen, and I just took it as coincidence or whatever else. But now I realize it's actually something that's been developing over time, and I finally had the awakening about 3 years ago, like I said. And so I'm one of those people that has no fear because I'm too dumb to know any better. So I kind of walk into anything, and because I want to experience it fully as it is. But it's not just the paranormal that's kind of happened to me as well. There's a lot of other things that I've realized I'm an energy healer. I do all these different things that I didn't know about before. So it let me know there's a lot more out there than just what I would expect, like medicine through science only, not holistic or anything else. There's a lot of different things I'm realizing now that I've had my experience 3 years into it now, and I continue to learn because, well, first off, a lot of people just seem to think that I know what the heck I'm talking about, and they come and ask me questions, or they just want my opinion or whatever else, and I'm more than happy to give it to them. But if I get in places where um, things get a little crunched or I don't have an answer, well, then that's why I turn to people that I do know and ask them, because my best teachers are those that have experienced it before. And I am not afraid to reach out to them and ask for help. That's something that anyone who is attempting to work in this field at all, in any type of field, needs to understand is that your pride goes to the wayside. You have to be willing to reach out because all of us are learning. I call myself a practicing intuitive because I will never be the master of anything. So I will always be practicing. I will always be learning. So that's just kind of how it's worked out for me for the past 3 years.
Okay, Marcus, do you have any other? I think you had another question.
My next question actually is for Tom.
Sure.
Uh, so when you found out that you had these abilities, what happened? Like how did you figure out like these abilities were actually psychic abilities?
Okay. Mine's a little interesting. I have a bunch of friends who I used to actually be part of their team of investigators, but before I became on their team, we were just friends, and they were all going on investigations. And at one point, they asked me, "Can you come on to an investigation with us?" Sure, not a problem. So we just went to go hang out with them as friends. And as I'm sitting there, I actually had that person walk in and started talking to me. And when I started talking back to the lady that I could see, I was with two other mediums, and they asked, "Who are you talking to?" And I explained who I was talking to and what she looked like. And they're like, "Well, we can see her. How come you can?" And I went, "Because she started talking to me." And they're like, "How long have you been able to do this?" And I literally went like 30 seconds.
5 minutes.
that's how my awakening happened. It like I said, when I say it hit me like a fire hose, like I was drinking from a fire hose. That's literally what it was like. I walked into it
Wow.
expecting to walk into it, and we were on a 3-day 2-night investigation. I was going to be there for a long time to figure out what else I can do in a short amount of time.
Wow. Okay.
Jeez. And thank you for sharing that. We're not quite done with you as far as questions, but I got one for Stephanie here. As a psychic medium and investigator, how do you balance your intuitive abilities with more scientific aspects of paranormal research? And do you ever find the two, butting heads?
Not really butting heads, but just because I am so like I want to know everything and I want to know why. Why does this happen? Why does that happen? And I know that I can get things, but sometimes I still like this is crazy. Like really, like I can know all of this and stuff. So I maintain a nice balance. And sometimes nature does it for me. Sometimes I'll just have to focus on the technical side because I'm not getting anything else on that other side. Um, Case in point, this last weekend we went to a location in the Blue Ridge Mountains and had no emotions, no feelings on it, no nothing. And we get there and still nothing. And so we're setting up our equipment and our cameras and our devices are giving us more clues than any of us are getting. So sometimes it's a good balance of both before, during, and after. And sometimes, the universe makes that decision for you. Like, okay, this time you're just going to focus on this aspect of an investigation or a case or an experience. I'm a little bit, what's the word? It's not really intuitive. It's more of like I'm in competition with myself
Okay.
to prove myself wrong or to prove myself right. So I will do research, I will ask questions, I will go to experts, I will try to explain things. Um, Even if I know I can, I'm going to look for that other explanation just so that if somebody comes at me and says, well, you may have experienced this and you may have seen this, but it can be caused by A, B, and C. And so I want to know what A, B, and C are. So I will go to people who know more than me. I will go to the experts, the engineers who can tell me how those devices work and why they work and what they measure, how they're built. And then on the other side, I go to other people who I refer to all the time. Connie, I'll ask her, what do you think? I'll tell her a situation or a scenario. And I'll say, what do you think? Or I'll go to Tom. I go to Tom quite often. He probably gets sick of like seeing my name pop up on his messages.
Absolutely
Um,
not.
but it's all about learning and just finding out, what everybody else thinks and what their experiences are and how it relates and how it differs because you're
Okay.
just constantly learning. So
That's
I
gotta
would say there's
be
a good balance of both.
that's gotta be cool when they kind of validate each other too.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. It's really cool when you can validate something who was not even there, who
Yeah.
didn't even have the experience that you had, but they can say, oh, yeah, well, it was this. And they can tell you exactly what happened or what a specific detail was without even being there. Tom's really good at that.
Thank
That's the advantage of having such a great team too. We know we could call on each other for anything. Like they have abilities that I do not have. And I
Yeah.
remember learning that with Stephanie when we were on a Warren case. And it was one of the first cases I was on with them. We were on Zoom with the people, and there was a few of a few of the investigators in on the Zoom, and we have a private chat that we talk to each other with during the case, and they're all talking. Okay, you see that guy behind her, and I'm sitting here like, what the hell are they talking about? I don't see a guy. Am I in the right case? And then I'm like, am I the only non-psychic in this case right now? And they all started laughing because I'm like losing my mind. I'm like, I don't see this guy.
Marcus, do you have another question?
Could be. He could be. He could develop those. They're
Yeah,
there, but
Yes, they're
he
there.
won't.
Or you
I
think
know. I
like
Everybody
have.
has the
everyone has
ability.
that,
I
like the
get yelled at.
ability to like bring that out?
Yeah.
Everybody has abilities. It's just a matter of knowing how to tap in and feel them because a lot of people don't know what it feels like. And so for some people, their senses are stronger, maybe visually speaking. A lot of times when we see things, we see them here in our mind's eye and not physically. Physically seeing is something that's very, very rare to see a full-bodied apparition. Um, some people just get a sense of knowing, or they hear something, or they feel something, but we all have the abilities, even smelling or tasting. Like I said, we all have, and my whole body's tingling right now. And every time I talk about this stuff, something starts happening. But we all have those abilities. It's just a matter of tapping in, realizing what they're like. There's so many myths and misconceptions out there about it that, I've had people argue with me and say, no, you have to be born with it. Like it's some, special thing that only certain people have. But what happens is some people may have an awakening and then they tune that means that they've tuned in and they realize what it feels like. They realize what the different energies feel like. And my boyfriend actually teaches people how to do that. And it's so, so cool to see people who think like, no, I can't do this. I don't know how to do this. And the next thing you know, they're giving readings for other people. They're reading themselves. They're reading energies. And I see it happen all the time. And so, Bill, you can totally do it. I know I've seen you do it. You're
Well,
like, I can feel this.
yeah.
I can feel that. But
Well, yeah. As an empath, I can feel emotions and energy.
right.
I just
That's your
can't.
strongest.
Right. I
That's your
just haven't taken
strongest
it
player.
past that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just haven't taken it past that to where I could see what they see.
It's time, Bill. It's
Yeah, I know.
time.
I get yelled at by everybody, including my wife.
Um, I'm trying to read. I got a bunch of questions here. Okay. So this is for Connie. So as you said, you're a shaman, right? And a hypnotherapist. Your approach to the paranormal is I would consider like deeply spiritual, right?
It is. And just to clarify, I like Stephanie, I don't like to use labels, but
Okay. I
it's easier
apologize
to
if I use
no, no,
any
no,
words
no.
that.
That's what I
Okay.
stated because I mean, yeah, I'm a hypnotherapist. I need that label. But for other things, it's kind of hard to explain. It's hard to explain as it is with the label. But I can't just be like, hi, I'm Connie, I'm here and I do things.
Yeah.
Have
Um,
superpowers.
Right. So, I'm not super techy. That's not my thing. Like I've got the gadgets and gizmos and all those things. But I do approach things more spiritually. I have helped clients before, hypnotherapy clients to move past traumatic paranormal experiences. I've helped people who have experienced alien abductions and visitations. Um, I've done past life regressions and childhood regressions to help people to heal. And I release attachments. I help them to release them. And I've done that through hypnotherapy and also shamanic techniques. There's other ways to do it as well. Um, but everything that I do is more spiritual, more intuitive. And so I tend to look at things that way. I'm my own best tool when it comes to investigations. It's great to have the validation from a gizmo, when you're like, oh my gosh, something's happening. I totally feel it. And all of a sudden everything just lights up or everything goes off or, I'm talking about something and then you get an EVP talking about what it is that I'm talking about. I mean, it's so, so cool for things like that to happen. But yes, I do approach things in more of a spiritual way.
Okay. Well,
And
thank you.
that's and Nick, that by the way, that's my wife in the chat saying I think she's crazy sometimes because she's always trying to get me to open up a little more of my abilities.
That's all right. Um, Marcus, you have anything? You have another question? 'Cause
Actually, um,
I might have stole it.
Connie, yeah, Connie, you actually answered one of my questions already, where you said that everybody has a little bit of psychic abilities. I don't think people actually realize that they have that. You know, like for me, I've been told I'm an empath. I haven't really gone down the road to exercising that a lot, but like I don't think everyone really knows. I think when people hear like psychic, they think of like fortune teller or like someone who's going to say your future, or you know, people that talk to ghosts
Lottery
or stuff.
numbers.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, give
Right.
me lottery
If you're a
numbers or stuff
psychic,
like
then why
that.
haven't you won the lottery? Like it just
Right.
Yeah.
doesn't.
Exactly. Exactly. So, Nick, she actually answered, you know, my last question that I had for the team. But
I mean, like I said, it's really interesting because everybody has a story. Let me just go there. Everybody has a story, whether it's I had a visitation dream that just didn't make sense, or I dreamt of this person that died and it was really a visitation and maybe they don't realize that, or I walked into this place and I just felt really uneasy, or I was around this person and I just felt kind of strange and I felt like they had bad intentions, or even maybe you are talking to somebody that's trying to sell you something and something in your body is like, no, 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 don't do it, don't do it. And then you're like, okay, and then later on come to find out you were ripped off or whatever the case may be. We all have the ability to feel and read energy. And everybody, like I said, everybody has a story. It's just a matter of working on that. And it's not even really like developing, it's just getting used to the different energies and knowing what they feel like. Once you feel them, they're there.
And like what I was saying is back when I was young, you know, people didn't talk about this as much. So, I'm 8, 9, 10 years old. I, I didn't know what an empath was. Nobody talked about that. But I knew something was weird when I would even go to, say, a family party, and all of a sudden I would get depressed. I wasn't depressed. I was picking up on somebody that was in that room. It doesn't mean it was a spirit. It could have been an actual living person in there too. I could pick up on those emotions. So, but I didn't know about that. I didn't know. Nobody talked about that. There was nobody to really go talk to. I had to learn on my own eventually what that was. So yeah, so everybody has it. They just a lot of times don't realize what it is.
And a lot of people who say that they're empaths, I believe that everybody is empathic. I like to use the word empathic because sometimes people are like, oh, I'm an empath and the moon has affected me and I can't get up and I can't do anything. We have to learn how to protect our energy. It's not something that we need to fear. It's not something that is here to punish us. I tell people to learn what they don't understand, learn what it is, learn how to utilize it, learn how to turn it off when you don't want
Mm.
to be in that situation, because you don't want the moon to be like affecting you so that you can't get out of your chair, or that you're near somebody and you feel like you're going to jump out of your skin because you can feel what's going on with them.
Right.
So again, learn about it.
So I've had that since I was a kid, and I wish I could turn it off sometimes. So maybe
Yeah.
I need some
I,
advice after this is done.
you know, I get asked that a lot when I'm lecturing and stuff. They ask how you turn it off, how you do that. I said, I don't know. I have no idea how I turn it off because, like, when we go and I'm doing panels at MegaCon, we have 500 plus people in the room. There's a lot of energy in that room and a lot of emotions going on in that room, and somehow it just shuts off. I don't know. I don't know
It's a
how to do it,
natural
but
boundary that you
yeah,
have. It's natural. I have that same natural boundary. But when
yeah.
I've got somebody that's really close to me, like I had someone cutting my hair one time years and years and years ago, and I thought I was going to have a panic attack. And I was like, oh my God, am I afraid she's going to cut off my hair? Like, what's going on? Is there something happening? And then I realized it was her. And so I pushed my energy out. I just set the intention that I was pushing it out. And once I did that, it went away. So intention is everything. That's really all you have to do. You can imagine you've got white light surrounding you. You can imagine that you have mirrors that are facing outward that are protecting you, and anything that's coming at you is being reflected back. But it's all about intention and just saying, like, I am not allowing this to happen. These are my boundaries. It's my energy field. I'm not allowing this to happen. It's not, some magical potion or thing that we have to do in order to learn our boundaries. We just set that intention.
Thank you for sharing that. And
Yeah,
one other
absolutely.
thing, Marcus and I he can attest to this too, that every time if we do a paranormal investigation, that at the end of the night, that's the best sleep we ever get, ever. I don't know,
Is it
because
because you're up till 5 a.m.?
not only that, it's just we feel so drained afterwards. Literally, you just go home and hit the bed and we're done. It's
Yeah.
almost like and it's always like in your lower back. It's kind of like someone like tapped into you and just took everything from you.
Paranormal hangovers.
Paranormal hangovers.
I don't have
You know
them
what
anymore.
helps with that? You got to go to Waffle House afterwards.
That we should have.
Yeah, that's a tradition. Paranormal hangover, Waffle House works for everything.
I always say, we get drained, so you have to raise your vibration again. Laugh, be silly, listen to something that isn't going to bring your vibration down. Like, don't listen to music with a lower vibration. Listen to something that's uplifting. Watch a comedy show. Take an Epsom salt bath, even go sit outside for a little while, sit in the grass. There's different things that we can do. Just be very mindful of things. But I used to get those paranormal hangovers all the time, and I couldn't get out of bed sometimes for 2 days.
I wind up doing a lot of the opposite. I'll like throw on a horror movie.
Well,
I'll do
that's
everything
because
that we tell
Add
you
to
not
the
to do.
flame.
But here's the thing, like, once you kind of learn, like,
Yeah.
to do that, then you don't really need to do anything anymore. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, it's probably all intention too. It's intention, like, okay, well, I'm not going to let this happen. I started off, I kept wearing these hematite bracelets. I would put them on and wrap them around my ankles before I went to bed, because I was like, this is going to help me not have a paranormal hangover. And I would do that, and it would work every single time. And then one of them broke and like shattered into 300 million pieces one night. And I was like, well, I guess I don't need it anymore. And I went to bed, didn't put any of it on, and I was completely fine. So, yeah, everything that I said, it's all about intention, really. So even if you don't do those things, just set the intention.
Yeah.
Very good to know. I have a few questions for everyone. So, is there a time where you kind of bring this home to you, where like something you've had like such a severe investigation or something that maybe you didn't close everything off right, and something like comes back home to you? How often does that happen?
Um, I've had a few. Yeah, I've had a few attachments. Not a lot. I'm try to go well protected. Actually, mine wind up more when I'm not investigating. I just do something stupid. Like where I'm not on an actual investigation, and then like I'll give you a perfect example. Me and my wife last year were going up to St. Augustine for vacation around New Year's, and I told her, I said, "Hey, have you ever stopped at Casadega?" And I don't know if you guys know what Casadega is in Florida. It's a little city. It's considered the psychic capital of the world, because there's so many psychics in this little tiny city that everything. I mean, every door is a psychic, and they have a few things there. So like on the way up, we stopped there, and she was wondering why we were driving into a cemetery, because she does not like this stuff, and I said, well, you got to get a couple pictures of me sitting in the devil's chair. This is what's known there. And she wasn't thrilled about that. And there was a little doll on the chair, and it was all hunched over. So I picked it up and I straightened it out. And, these are the things I get yelled at for, because I didn't go in there and like kind of set myself up and protect myself. I just sat in the chair, touched the doll, and then I was sick all week. So, it's more those
Why didn't
things
you
than
take the doll home?
yeah. No, because I would
Did
be
you?
dead.
I'm the
If
Oh,
I'm the
I touched
man.
doll. I'm the doll person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I know that. But so it's more like that. But I've had a handful of attachments over the years from investigating. I don't know about you guys.
I will say that everybody ends up with attachments at some point throughout their life. That doesn't mean it's something malicious. It could be something that's ancestral. But in order to have an attachment, they have something that they can hook into. So, for example, somebody that's going to have a demonic attachment, there has to be something for that demon to hook into. It's not just like, oh, I'm happy, I'm fine. There's something that has happened that is deep within. That's why, people that are using drugs and alcohol and things like that, they're more susceptible to these things because they're trying to self-medicate the pain that they have. They're not addressing whatever's going on, so they can get attachments. It could be, sadness, it could be grief, it could be anger, it could even be something that, we were born with. And I had an attachment that I was born with. I've had several that have been removed from me, and I've even gotten them from hypnotherapy clients. A lot of my clients have gone through similar things that I've gone through, and sometimes that attachment ends up on me. So, it's not something necessarily to be feared because they're not all malicious and trying to hurt you and things
Yeah.
like that. But sometimes you become very aware that something is different and that something is wrong. And, I've gone through situations where I didn't want to admit that I had an attachment. And I'm like, every last thing in my life is just going down the tubes and I don't feel right. Something's just really, really off. And so that's, you know, that was one of the signs for me. Another sign I had was ever since I was a little kid, I would feel like whenever I would look into a mirror, that I would see somebody else. And I've also felt like my name didn't belong to me. So these were very, very strong signs that I had a very strong attachment that I was born with. But, some people might not even have any symptoms.
Okay. Wow. Thank you all for sharing that. Does anyone else have any stories about attachments?
That-
No,
I'm sure everyone does.
I probably did when I was younger, but I didn't know what it was. Looking back now, knowing what I know now and seeing how I was as a younger person and seeing how I behaved and how I lived, I probably did, but at the time I didn't know it. Um, do things follow me home? Not anymore. Probably in the beginning when I first started investigating and I didn't properly protect and set boundaries. I maybe a few things did, but the my routine at home is I just maintain such a positive and well protected space, and I make sure I'm the keeper of the balance in the home. So when I feel somebody who lives here with me, their energy is off, I do things to try to change that. I good music, I've got nice ambient light. I just try to make the atmosphere as easy going, laid back, positive. Somebody's having a bad day, I'm going to try and help them work through it. What can I do to make it better? I could recognize when somebody walks in the door, like, oh, they're off. What can I do? So I'm going to try and make them feel better. And that's my job in the house. So they probably try, but because I work so hard to maintain the energy here and put up the boundaries and the intentions that it's I it's a thought now. It's just a thought. I don't have to work too hard. I don't have to run around with sage or, anything that, on the boundaries. I don't have to do none of that anymore. Whereas in the beginning, I felt that I needed to. But those are just things. And I know even though I gave those things the intention, my thoughts and my intentions within are stronger. And so now it's just, oh, I got to do this, and everything's pretty well maintained around here. Unless I'm in a bad mood. And then we're all in trouble. But I
Yeah.
try to always just maintain a high vibration, positive outlook on everything. And then if I am having a bad day or if I'm just like, ugh, I give it 5 minutes and then I'm like, okay, I'm done with that. I'll go do something that makes me happy, go take a hot bath or watch a movie or get out in my garden and plant. But that is something that I am very conscientious about all the time. Doesn't matter what time of day it is I know that if I let my guard down, if I allow something to come in, then it's not going to be good. So that's my job. I'm the keeper of the house and maintain all those boundaries and make sure the energy is good. And I haven't really noticed anything popping in. I'm really good about, even the kids will tell you if they get something from like the antique store, something old, not new. I'm like,
Dolls.
no, keep it at the door. We don't do dolls. Yeah, keep it at the door. Mom, come cleanse this, and I'll come out there and cleanse it. And it's usually with, prayer or Palo Santo or my dragon's blood incense. And I'm like, okay, it's safe. I'll dust it off and clean it, and then I'll let them bring it in. It's funny that they know that. They're like, come clean this. I just bought this. But
Cool.
it's not very hard as long as you stay aware. Sometimes people can get a little tired and kind of let that intention or that habit go, and then something might creep in and kind of rock your world a little bit. But it's it's something that I tell people all the time. You gotta keep those boundaries set, those intentions set. Make sure you're taking care of yourself and your vibration, because when you're shining bright, you can also affect the people around you and raise them up as well.
And you want to make sure
Sorry,
if
that was
you've
my
got,
love feel.
sorry,
Thank you.
if
No,
you
you're good.
if you have, things that you need to work on yourself, it's important to work on them. By healing hooks, then you strengthen yourself. But also, as Stephanie was talking about, boundaries are super important. I've had people say things like, I'm afraid to go to a cemetery because I'm afraid that I'm going to get an attachment. I'm afraid if I do this, I'm going to get an attachment. This totally scares me. If I watch a movie, I'm going to get an attachment. You can bring that into your energetic field because of that intention. If that's your belief, then that can become your reality.
We always talk about that,
We've
speaking
also
into it existence.
we've also had some strange things at times. Like, Steph, I don't remember if it was you or one of the other girls from Georgia. We were on a case through Zoom with the family doing the initial interview, and somebody on the chat said, Bill, I think it was Kelly. It said, Bill, watch out. It went through and it's in your room behind you. And when they said that, all of a sudden, all those lights back there all changed colors. So right on screen, there was all changing colors as she was saying that. So it was kind of strange, I mean, I didn't see it, I didn't actually feel it, but I watched all of a sudden all the colors change.
Wow. Jeez. So I have a kind of a question for everyone. So you said you have people you're starting some another position in Brazil earlier, was it? Or
Uh, yes, we're working on it. My wife's originally from Brazil, and she has a lot of people there that she's been talking with that are just very very great people and very known uh, paranormal psychics all in Brazil, and they were here. I was up at a conference was it last week or 2 weeks ago, right before the hurricane, up in Orlando. I was speaking at a library in Port Orange, and then I went over to the convention where they were, and they had me speak at the convention, and my wife had to translate everything. But they're real interested in having part of the team over there because they said they don't really have people like us that go and investigate homes in the way that we do it, and they wanted to be part of that, and they're really great people, so we're working on that right now.
that's very cool. So have you ever noticed that in certain areas of this country where there's some like sort of similarities in the hauntings or whatever and type of cases you're investigating?
um I mean, it's all a lot of the same. I think. I mean, if once you go over into Europe and every place, you're going to areas that are very old. So, there's some things there that are going to be very different. It's just like everybody jokes about with the TV shows that how come they're in Italy and they're asking questions in English, you know. So I would say definitely, people in the areas that can speak the language is definitely going to help, when you're investigating over there. But I mean, I would say it's pretty much similar. I don't know if you
When
guys
you
have had.
have places that have had so much energy come through, when you have, let's say a place in Ireland that is just so old and has had so many people come through there, that energetic imprint is there. And so that can be, a means for attraction. Spirits are not limited to where they were or where they currently are. Some of them believe that they are, and so that can cause them to be stuck. But
Right.
different areas and also different beliefs. You know what I mean? Like in different countries, they have different terms for spirits. They have, like a jinn, they have so many different things
Right.
regionally and based on their countries, their beliefs and things like that. Um, you know, we've had so many Native American cases, because Native Americans were here, for such a long time before we were that, at least in my experience, I've come across that a lot. So, but I think that, overall, you see a lot of deceased family members. You see, people who have brought in things with them, brought attachments in, or have brought things into their home or created that as their reality.
Right.
So sometimes there's no rhyme or reason. Sometimes you see repetitive things, but every case is different.
Yeah, and religion does play a role at times because, there's a lot of different things. Like I'm Catholic, I was raised Catholic. I know people who are Catholic, people who are Christian that do not believe in ghosts. They think everything is a demon.
Mhm.
So it kind of depends on who it is, who's investigating, what they're looking for. There's a lot of factors involved.
How do you so you guys have like how do you all consolidate like this? Do you have like the similar approach in every single investigation? Like this is the steps we have to do to make sure everything is like our data is, you know, all normal or like what I'm trying to say. How to keep everything going smooth into like each investigation? Like how do you make sure everyone is doing exactly the same thing and then how do you share that afterwards?
We have a protocol,
Okay.
the way that we start out with, a lot of questions. And so there are certain questions that we
A
ask
lot.
during every investigation. And then based on the answers of those questions, then we piggyback off of that and, decide what we need to do collectively. Um, Sometimes it's a matter of empowering the client. Sometimes it means that we have to go in and physically do something to assist them. Sometimes, it could be that they need to do something first before we can come in. And so they need to do it. We need to reassess. But, every case is different, but we do have, the same protocol that we utilize before making a determination whether or not we have to go in. When we go in, we are very meticulous in our logging of incidents or evidence, and we communicate very effectively when it comes to that to make sure that we're, really trying to debunk, we're really trying to tap in the people that are more intuitive, they've got their talking going on and seeing if they can figure things out. The tech people are focusing on the tech stuff. We all come together and try to, validate through those means. But afterwards, we definitely want to, give the client what they need in order to have the result that they're looking for.
It, I
And like
think it's very important for people who are doing residential cases like that. It's very different from public stuff because you're dealing with people and their lives. It's very important to take the time to sit and talk to them. We do it now mostly on Zoom first, and get their stories. Let them vent. Let them say everything, and get them comfortable with you because we do have a lot of questions, and we're going to ask some very personal questions. And unless you get those people, comfortable with you, they might not tell you everything. And the more you ask them and the more you repeat questions and the more you talk to them, the more you'll get things that you didn't notice the first time. Oh, okay, they said this, but now they're saying this. Not that they're lying or anything. It's just getting all the information from them and paying attention to what's going on to try to help them. It's important.
Thank you. Marcus, do you have something to add?
Yeah, when you guys are going into an investigation, do you guys go in like open-minded, um like for instance, like I know that when I first started out investigating and someone was telling me a story, I like automatically believed that. I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely, even now during our podcast, me and Nick's podcast, like he'll show a picture and I'll be like, oh, this is definitely paranormal. And then all of a sudden, like he points out, well, no, it could be like the cell phone, or it could be this, or it could be that. Do you guys go in open-minded?
Bill
Like,
can answer that question for all of us.
Yeah. Well, I would say you should always go in thinking it's nothing in a way. I want to push on that side, but go because if a lot of people learn now from TV, and TV makes every sound is something. So if you go in and somebody says, perfect example, somebody says, "Oh, I'm hearing these voices and I'm seeing these things," a lot of people right away are going to be like, "Wow, that has to be something," but they didn't dig deep enough to find out. Well, does this person have maybe schizophrenia? Maybe they have even things like bipolar and things like that can cause voices that they hear in their head. So it's important to decipher, is the voice in their head? Is the voice coming from down the hall? So you have to go in very, very open-minded to anything, but you want to debunk everything as much as you can first, because it's easier to rule something out than it is to prove it. So rule out as much as you can first. Like I always say, the paranormal is the unexplained. So if you could explain it, it can't really be paranormal. Um, and that's why Nick knows with the group, if he sees me, I get screamed at and yelled at and, by everybody in these groups when I talk about orbs and lens flares and all types of things that are caused naturally. And again, because I have a background in that too, I know a lot about it. I'm an IT director, but I also work at a psychiatric drug and alcohol treatment facility. So I've been around mental illness for a long time. We have 90 something cameras in our office, so I know how cameras work, security cameras. So yeah, it's very important. If you're not sure about something, don't assume it is paranormal. Don't assume it's not paranormal. Console with everybody. Talk to it. Say, hey, I saw this. What could it be? Could it be this? Could it be? Everybody can help determine what it could be or not. If you just go in thinking it's something, every sound is going to be something.
And,
Because we
houses make sounds. I remember I spent 45 minutes trying to debunk this sound. Every time we would ask a question, it would make a tapping sound. And we figured out that it was a mini fridge, and
demon.
it just so happened to be making this sound every time we were asking questions. And we realized what it was, and we're like, oh my gosh. But we spent so much time on it, and no, I absolutely do not believe that something was manipulating it to give us those responses, because we totally figured it out, and I was just like, oh, forget that.
Tom helped me out on a case before he was even part of the team, out
yeah,
by him, and it was not paranormal, but he worked with them in such a great way, and just got the confidence from the client to help him. you know and again, the hardest thing I always say is convincing somebody that they are not haunted. That is the hardest thing, in my opinion. I'm sure you all agree with me. Stephanie has dealt with a few people through us that you know have just not accepted things. you know and
And then they
it's
get
tough.
mad.
I
Yeah,
was
they
I
get
They
was
mad.
get mad. They see the stuff on TV. They believe that that's how it is. They believe that that's what they have. They expect us to come in with proton packs and things like that. But
It's cool to be haunted now. That's what they think.
Well, that was actually going to be my next question is have you guys ever come to a conclusion where the client just wasn't expecting it? Like they almost as if they were expecting a haunting and they didn't get a haunting and it upset them and it
80%,
made them mad.
80%, I would say. Um,
Wow.
I'll give you a quick example of something I learned a long time ago. This was when I used to live up in New Jersey. This was back in like, I want to say it was like 94, 95, somewhere around there. We went into a house. It was a team that I was kind of working with. I went in with them. The family was saying, hey, we see things, we hear things, we're nauseous, we're dizzy, we're getting all kind of stuff. And it was the whole family, which is unusual because that's one of the things you go into. Okay, is it the one person that's hearing it? Is it all of them? But they were all doing it. And we went in there 3 separate times and investigated, and we got absolutely nothing. And again, this was a long time ago. So I got a friend of mine who was an electrician. He had some meters and stuff that I didn't have. Went into the house, went down into the basement, and found out that the electric in there was so old, it was all unshielded. And it was putting off a massive, massive amount of EMF energy. And if you research EMF energy, you'll find out that it causes hallucinations, nausea, dizziness. So they had to pay a lot of money and fix all the wiring in their house and everything stopped. So if you just watch TV now and you went in and they were all saying this, even though you couldn't find anything, they're all saying this, most people would immediately come to the conclusion that there's something in there and they're going to cleanse the house and they're going to do everything. And what's going to happen? Nothing because they didn't fix the wiring, you know? So it's important with things like that. But yeah, it is probably the toughest thing we deal with. Wouldn't you agree, Stephanie?
It is because most people should be happy that we tell them, well, it's nothing bad,
Yes.
that, we think it's this. Because again, we don't have proof because there is no proof. Um, but when you tell them, well, the signs don't point to this, they get really upset and then they call you names like you're phonies and you don't know what you're talking about and
Mhm.
take your 35 years and shove it
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
And so those are the people that you kind of have to send away with love and just let them go
Yeah.
because there are going to be people that we can't help.
And then you have other investigators that you have to deal with that say they have 100% proof. So, you know,
Absolutely.
um, so you deal with it on both sides. But it is important. Like I said, I encourage everybody, if you're into this, go out and do it. But don't go into people's homes and work with people until you know what you're doing. You're working with people that know what you're doing because you can damage somebody, way worse than whatever they're going through. So it's kind of important. But yeah, I would say, in my opinion, it's the hardest thing is telling people because sometimes they don't want to accept that it could be something natural or it could be something psychiatric or anything like that. They want the easy way. It's a ghost. Let's get rid of it. I
They
think
just
that's
don't want
the
to take accountability for
yeah.
the things going on in their lives sometimes. And so it's just easy to blame it on
Yeah.
something external. And be like, hey, get rid of that for me. It's like,
I saw
no, you need to
somebody
work
in the
here.
yeah, yeah, no, I saw somebody in one of the groups one time and they posted, a picture of their orb. We won't go there. I won't get into the orb thing because then I'll be here for another 2 hours. But they posted their picture, and I explained. Other people were explaining too what it was, and somebody said, "No, that's a demon. Get out of the house." And the the poster, the original poster of this thing said, "Yeah, that would be cool." Now, see, that's somebody that has never ever experienced a demon. The last thing you is going to be cool is a demon in your house. By far, not going to be cool at all.
People are ridiculous. So I have a question. So how is being a part of the Warren Legacy Foundation shaped your own perspectives of the paranormal, and what kind of responsibility do you feel to carry, like, to move their work forward in this?
Cool. Anybody want to take that, or you want me?
You go ahead,
Stephanie?
Bill. I think that you,
You know what I mean?
you
All
think you
right.
would cover that.
All right. For me, I mean, carrying on. Look, you're gonna have people out there that are haters of them. You're gonna have people out there that love them. You know, for me, carrying on the legacy of what they did is important, and teaching other people how to, I guess, have this kind of unity because we have so many people on here that all these people on there have their own teams, but they're part of this because they want to help and they want to help people across the world. And where we have, just like our team, we, like Tom said, get on and he'll call everybody and ask questions and ask for help. It's the same thing with the Warrens. You have people from all over the world that have experiences that some of us have never had. So you have a lot of people there that come together to help. And you have people like Chris McKennell, who's their grandson, who worked with them from when he was young. You have Joe Frankie, who worked with the Warrens for 36 years. He was one of their first students. So there's a lot of knowledge there too that you could get from them. So I mean, it's helped me in sometimes in the way I see things because you need all those people to roll things off of sometimes.
Real quick, can't speak today. Stephanie, you have to leave us. I want to say thank you
Yeah.
so much for being here. It's great to
Thank
meet
you
you.
very much for having me. Hopefully we can do it again. And good night, everybody. Thank you.
Good night, Stephanie.
Bye.
Thank
And I
you.
said,
Good night, guys.
night.
Have a good one.
I have to adjust myself on the screen now. You can feel
one
free
down.
Okay.
And
Yes, please continue.
go back to that 1 second. That's a perfect example. That's how I met Stephanie. Stephanie, when I went into the Warrens, I was a member, and then after about 2 months, they promoted me to regional director for the Southeast U.S., and she was the assistant regional director. So if it wasn't for the Warrens, I would never found her to work with, to be a great friend, and to lead the Georgia team. So you meet a lot of people in there that can help with a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
And it's great to be able to learn from other people, and I really try to keep an open mind with things. Like I've had, my own beliefs about things, and they are always evolving and changing and growing. And I think that a lot of us can say that same thing, except our opinion about orbs is not going to change, and lens flares and things like that. But having such a huge community of people that we trust and can work with really helps us, to grow as individuals. And I love investigating with other people and seeing what they do and their process and things like that. So I really feel fortunate that that I'm a part of not just the Warren Legacy Foundation, but also Bill's team.
Yeah, we work real closely with some other teams like War Party, Paranormal, and stuff. And they're great people, and it's good to find other people like that who are willing to work and collaborate and bounce ideas off of each other. It's important in this field because this field is going all over the place right now, and it needs to be a little more controlled.
Absolutely. There's hundreds and hundreds of shows out nowadays all over.
Yeah.
But Marcus, did you have one other question? Just wanted to get you some
Sorry,
time
Nick.
too.
I have to keep putting myself on mute because I got a lot of background noise here. So
You're good.
see, I had a list of questions that I had. And Connie, I know you have to go soon too. Let me see if I had any specific ones.
I'll say one thing while you're looking.
I think you guys
Along-
actually answered all my questions.
Do we?
We're talkers.
This has been great.
If I could put something out there to people too, another thing with residential cases, and again, this is just my opinion. I don't expect everybody to listen to everything I'm saying. I would say for your YouTube channels, for your TikTok, for all your social media, that's all fine to put stuff up there when you're out investigating. But if you're doing residentials, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't put that stuff up. You can put those clients into something that they don't want to be part of. You know, um, if you want to put something up that could be a good piece of evidence, ask their permission. If they're in it, blur them out, do something so that there's nothing identifiable. But I see a lot of teams out there, that just throw all their residential stuff up there, and they put clients out there, and I don't believe in that. I think it should stay all confidential. I mean, everything we do, we have a lot of forms that we sign, and the clients sign for confidentiality and all types of things, so that it'll also help you knowing who you're dealing with, because we encounter people sometimes that are just looking for fame, and they're lying, they're saying all kind of things, and once you tell them you want to sign confidential stuff and we're not going to put anything out there, they're like, oh yeah, no, you could put all our stuff out there, throw it on your YouTube. So you'll know a little more right away how that doesn't sound like somebody who's scared.
Yeah.
That sounds like somebody who's just looking for attention. So I would just think, just be careful with clients, and putting out information about them.
And a lot of times these are people who have kept all of these things, you know, to themselves because maybe they've been going through or
Yeah.
um there's a lot of clients that we have that are like, I've never said this to anybody,
Yeah.
so it's important to keep that confidentiality, as Bill said.
Definitely some great points. I did find one question for Connie. So you've done everything from past life regressions to spirit release therapy. In your experience, what is the most important factor in helping spirits find peace?
Um, so when we unattach something, um, we want them to find some sort of healing. And by healing, sometimes you end up healing the hooks for the individual as well as the spirit, because we don't want the spirit just to go and hook into somebody else. Shamanically speaking, I send them where they need to go for their own healing. That's something that I strongly believe in. I don't know where they go, what they need to heal, what they need to work on, but that's the intention that I set, and that's what I do in ceremony. During hypnotherapy, it's handled a little bit differently. It's kind of like I end up having a hypnotherapy session, not only with the client, but with the spirit as well. So, to me, healing is important all around, whether it is for the living or a spirit.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that.
That's
Um,
awesome. Connie, do you have any advice that you can give to anyone um before I know you have to get off here soon too. Do you have any advice to give to the listeners listening, watching?
Everybody has wounds, everybody has stuff from their past. People have had more trauma than others, but we've all experienced something. And I just tell people it's important to work on yourself, whatever that means. People do it in different ways, but self-care does not mean like, oh, I'm going to go get a massage, I'm going to go take a bath, I'm going to go get my nails done. It really means like doing that hard inner work, working on your shadows. You need to keep yourself healthy in that way. You can become physically sick because of the things that we carry around with us. So I'm really big on people doing what they feel comfortable doing, whether it's hypnotherapy, whether it's other types of therapy, whether it's shamanic healing, whether it's Reiki. Try different things, see what works for you. I've done so many different things myself. Um, because I'm never going to stop trying to heal. I'm never going to stop doing that. I'm always going to be somebody that is trying to grow. And I think that it's important, especially if you're in a relationship with somebody, that you work individually and also work together. So my advice is just, for everybody to keep on healing.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for that.
And with that, I'm going to jump off, if you don't mind.
Thank you so
course.
much for being here.
Thank
Like we're
you.
just dropping off. But
Yeah.
I've had a lot of fun with you guys, and I really appreciate that you had us on. So I just really want to say thank you.
No
Of
problem at
course.
all.
Thank you.
Take care.
You as well.
2 down.
So,
Plot myself
All right.
back over here to the.
It's funny how I
Left it
how I
on.
originally met Tom, as I was on his podcast originally.
Right.
a long time, but a long time ago.
yeah, a couple years ago. Yep.
Yeah.
Tom,
Um,
can you give us a little insight on your podcast? Like,
Sure. So the name of it is called Stuff I Never Learned from a School Book. And the reason it came about was because when I came into my abilities, I really didn't have anyone to help guide me into what I was about to walk into. I did have one mentor, and she's a shaman up from Canada, but she told me that my vibration was high enough that she couldn't find the end of it. She said that the only person she's ever worked with a vibration as high as mine was her mentor. So she really couldn't guide me on too much. So I developed the program simply as a way for like-minded people. Like, if you think you have some abilities, you want to know about abilities, you're interested in abilities, or you know you have them, or you just don't know what to do with them, let's form a community so we can all come talk together. And I will go out and try to find experts in the field, veterans in the field, people who've been doing it for a while, to come in and make sure we're not about to break the universe in some way, form by coming together with all these novices who don't know what they're doing. And that's really how my show formed, was simply to create a place for people who may have been uncomfortable to talk about it out loud, or something along those lines. And they were just like, I just need something, because I was feeling that way. So I just formed the show and put it online and said, hey, if this is what you're interested in, come talk. But now it's expanded into so much more than just that. I mean, it's blossomed into everything. We talk spiritual healing, quantum healing, parallel universes, multi-universe, wormholes, cryptids, UFOs, paranormal investigations, psychics, mediums, people who read tarot, witches, anything that other people outside of our world would call weird or strange or whatever. This is a place for them to come to, and to mingle and be able to talk to each other. And I named it that way because it was not something you just learn out in everyday life. You actually have to kind of have a community to attach with and kind of learn from.
That's so cool.
that's awesome.
Thanks.
That's really cool.
So, what would you say the most surprising thing you learned from your guests that has challenged your own beliefs in this?
Um, really open-minded. I don't really have a tendency to judge anybody when they come on my show. Um, my show now is a platform we still get to come to, but it gives a platform to anybody who wants to talk. That I really do stay away from politics. There's no politics on my show at all. Religion sometimes has to come into it because sometimes that's someone's belief, but it's a very open-minded. Um, so for me, there's really nothing that's come across where I'm like, oh, that's a crock of whatever. Caught myself there, like how I did that, Bill. But there's
I saw that.
but there's nothing that has come on my show that I've been like, no, I can't get on board with that, or no, I don't believe that, or I don't believe that is a possibility, because in my short amount of time, like I said, 3 years, there's been too much that has happened to me, or that my guests have been able to relate to me, that I can't not give that benefit of a doubt to. It's just not possible for me anymore, and the shows would help me do that.
Very nice.
That's kind of like that's kind of like how our clients are in a way. A
Right.
lot of times we're the first people that they're able to tell this to without being judged. It's the same type of thing. They get on and they'll just all of a sudden start telling us everything that happened because they know we're not there judging them. We just want to hear what happened, and it's the same type of thing. They're coming on his show to not be judged. They're just telling what they do, what they experience, and.
And that was kind of like how I met Marcus. I was just talking about it, and then he overheard it, and he was actually my supervisor, and he called me in the office. He's like, "You do ghost hunting?"
Hey, let me tell you, I work for a psychiatrist for the past 11 years. So it took me many, many years before I ever told him what I do outside of there because I thought for sure I'd wind up being a patient. It's a psychiatric facility. But he's actually fully embraced this. He's let me investigate in the building, and he has me sometimes come in and speak about it to the families of the patients, to all the med students. We have 30 to 40 med students a month in there that do their rounds and everything, and he'll call me into the room and he'll be like, tell them what you do. And I'm like, okay, I'm the IT director. And he's like, no, 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 tell them what you do outside of here. And now I'm sitting here explaining about ghost hunting to 30 or 40 med students that have all been trained, not to understand this. But so it's amazing when you see somebody, take on and believe it. It's not like he's now thinks, okay, his patients are possessed, but he's taken to this and he enjoys it.
Has
So
it ever been a
it's interesting.
possibility, or if they're there, like where
Um,
you've talked to someone where you're like, maybe they aren't, maybe this isn't?
I, there's been one I can't talk about it on
Yeah,
here.
no,
There's
of
been
course,
one that
yeah.
has a lot of had a lot of questions about. Just I'd say in 11 years, there's two. You remember, even though I'm the IT director, I do interact with the patients at times and stuff, but not to that level, and I can't go assess them. So I would say there's two that have always been a little questionable to me. Doesn't mean that's what it was. It could have been both. It could have been, but it was there's some interesting things happen.
But you also have to think about Bill is showing up to talk to all these med students in a psychiatric ward about the possibility that not only are they sitting with psych patients, but now the hospital may be haunted. So double your fun here while you're being a med student in our psychiatric hospital. So
Yes. He actually lets me come in. I think we're going to do it November 1st again. He lets me come in. I bring in all my equipment. We set up in there and I do my presentation like I would at a library or a convention. And I do it for all the patients. He allows me to do that. We have a floor full of adolescents, so I do that. I do it for them and also some of the adults, and they seem to enjoy it. Even though a lot of them have some psychiatric issues and things like that. So far, I haven't encountered anybody that had a problem with me talking about it. But they all enjoy it. Especially when you start talking about the Warren stuff and everything like that. But um, yeah, it's pretty interesting that it's all been embraced like that there because I thought for sure he wouldn't take to that.
Absolutely. Um, what do you think looking ahead is like the next big thing in paranormal research?
Um, I don't know. Um, there's a lot of people out there developing equipment and things, and we all are. One of the things again, there's two different types of people. There's just hobbyists that go out there and just have fun, and then there's people who are actually doing research, trying to get real proof or real evidence, because nobody has it, unfortunately. We can all say, look, I've been part of demonic cases where I've had things knock me 30 feet across the room. Okay. I don't need any more evidence than that. I witnessed it. I was hit. But you can't prove it, 100%. So, we're hoping that someday soon, something's going to come out that can do that. The problem with equipment is that equipment can be flawed, and again, with TV shows and with everything, YouTube channels, they're pushing so many different things like ghost phone apps and stuff that
Hmm.
I try to explain, like, look, could something come through a ghost phone app? It could. I mean, a spirit can manipulate electronics and energy and everything. But the problem is this: a phone app is programmed to do what it does. So it's a written program. A lot of them use GPS to know where you are, active listening to know what you're asking, and AI to respond to you. And what is an app I mean, you guys have invented. We've gone out places 12, 15 hours and captured absolutely nothing. That's what happens a lot. But you put on the phone apps and that thing will not shut up. It just keeps spitting out and having full on conversations. Well, why is my recorder not having that? Why is it only this app? Is it the ghost is only going to this app? You have to look at things like that. Again, could something come through there? Something could, but there's too much to prove it wrong. So that's why I stay away from phone app. I've tested them all, and I'll test them along with other equipment. And look, sometimes they can spit something out, but again, it knows what you're doing. And for people, again, this is coming from a person in the technology field. For people who think that just because you say I don't allow you to have access to this, if you think that it does not have access to it, you're crazy. It
Yeah.
has access to all your stuff. You don't need to say that. We all know that. You talk about something and all of a sudden it's on your feeds for the next 5 days. You know, um, everything listens to what you're saying. Everything responds. And again, if you want to play with them and have fun out in a public setting, have fun with it. But a lot of the YouTubers and people, they like to use things like phone apps and everything because they're instant gratification, because it's gonna say something. If you take Spirit Talker and just put it on and stick it on the table and walk away, you're gonna come back to 40 lines of conversation. I guarantee you, if you put a recorder sitting there, you're not gonna have that. So it's things like that. So I do hope that they find a way to have more reliable evidence that we can lean more towards something saying, look, this is actual proof. I would love to see that. Hopefully I get to see that in my day.
Absolutely. I mean,
But
they're inventing a lot of cool stuff out there. Do you have any of the equipment that Build Chapel develops, like the Ovulus device, and what's your opinion on that?
yeah, you know, it's funny. It's one of those devices. I love it. I love the Ovilus. I love to play around with it. Do I say that's evidence? No. I have had it pinpoint some things that is what we were talking about or what went on, and it's kind of interesting. Um, I knew somebody. I think it was. I think he said that it was Tim Yancey. Tim Yancey used to be on my team before he passed away a few years ago, and he was involved in this field, and he didn't like any of the equipment. And he had a violent haunting when he was young. They did a show on him for I think it was on My Hauntings or one of those shows. And he also was good friends with George Lutz from the Amityville house. He used to travel around with him and speak about Amityville. He was one of those people that was very particular. He didn't like equipment. He didn't like anything. But I think he said one time he has one of the original Ovilus. It was the first one. I went to his house and I saw this thing. I had never seen anything like this. You got to hook a speaker up to it. So like a weird device. It's very, very different. But the thing is, he had the word bank because they are word banks.
Hmm.
They're not just spitting out, words that it doesn't know. It's a word bank. But I believe he said one time he saw a word on there that was confirmed that was not in the word bank. So like something like that, of course, 100%. I don't know what that is. So I do like the devices. I like to play around with them, and I'll tell you off air something because it has to do with something at work with the Ovilus. I'll explain one time something that I can't explain about it. So, you know, it's fun. It
Okay.
is definitely fun, but I wouldn't say, hey, look, here's the evidence that you have something in your house because we have something on the Ovilus. And I wouldn't bring the Ovilus into somebody's house, you know. But
Yeah.
Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, I have I have a handful of equipment myself. I don't have an Ovilus, but I have the an upgraded version called Chattergeist. It's a small handheld cylinder looking one, but it has a bunch of different programs built into it. It can do the EMF. It can be like an Ovilus where it has like a 17,000 word bank or whatever else, and you can just take this around with you and set it down at investigations, and it's great to have. If it supports you, but if you have it and it doesn't support you, then you get mad at it and go, "Why did I buy this piece of crap?" And so it really is just a tool, but you have to be careful how you use the tool. Um,
Yes.
and it's really that simple. I'm like one of the other. I'm pretty much like what Connie was talking about. I am my own best um, tool that I am because I am a psychic, I am a medium, I do a handful of other things that I can pick up on things. Um, so if I feel it and that validates it for me, then great. It validated for the other people that are in the room with me. I already know what happened or I already know what's going to happen, but it just helps them go, cool, what you just said, that just confirmed what you just said, or whatever
Yeah.
else. So that's really what it is for me as a tool for others, not really for me. But if it goes off and they're like, well, you didn't pick up on that. Well, all of a sudden, especially if it's someone who doesn't know me, they're like, well, are you a false or is that tool a false? Is that little whatever device you're using false? Which one is it? And then I have to kind of do the whole um, computer explanation, energy explanation, whatever else to let them know that I am not perfect, but neither is this thing. Um, Go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say, yes, research the equipment.
Right.
Don't,
Absolutely.
if you go out and you buy a piece of equipment, you buy the Ovilus. Okay, I got an Ovilus now, and you're just playing with it. Research how it works.
Hmm.
Understand what makes it work, what sets it off, learn that stuff because it'll help you. Because I tell people, I know a lot of people don't want to hear, oh, like we go back to orbs and stuff. Oh, it's a piece of dust or it's a bug. They don't want to hear that because they get disappointed. But teaching teaching you about what is real when you actually capture something, it's going to be 100 times more exciting. Because if you sit there and you have an app that's constantly talking to you, making you think you're having these conversations, it's kind of gets boring. If you have a recorder and all of a sudden you get an actual response to you from a recorder, it's way more exciting than something from that app. You know, so it's just important to learn the equipment. It's like anything. You're gonna get your computer, you turn it on, you don't know how to use it. You learn how to use the computer, how it works. It's the same thing.
I'll give you guys a pretty definitive answer. Um, I went on an investigation. It was a group investigation. So it was at a location that we were going to stay overnight, and they were going to give us the nighttime was a guided investigation. Groups of 10, four different groups. We're going to go all over this entire compound area, huge acreage, and in groups of 10 and kind of investigate the buildings. We're all going to switch around. And one of the investigators or one of the guides had flashlights. And everyone knows that they could turn a little flashlight on and off type thing. And a lot of people focus on those and go, hey, here's this. But I said, hey, could we try something different? And he said, sure. Well, I have a flashlight that clicks on and off from the back. A little more believable because a jostle won't turn that light on and off. And I was actually there with three other people, and we all had the same clicky flashlights, and we set them up in the room, and we had them turned off. And we were in a location where we knew that it was during a certain time of the year, or during a certain time of our past, and there were a lot of um, trying to do this the best way I can. But anyways, I'm just gonna have to come out and spell it out for y'all. During World War II, there was a location where there was a lot of uh, internment for German individuals
Hmm.
here in the Midwest, and a lot of them, this was their sick bay. This is where if they got sick or anything else, this is where they went to. And So we're standing there and they're asking questions in English about, oh, how did you feel? How was your sickness, everything else? And nothing was going on and off. And I said, well, can I try something? And they're like, sure. So I started speaking in German while our clicky lights started going on and off. And it was two or three here and there. And then I said, well, let's debunk it. Let's see if this works. So I go, just keep talking, see if the lights come on. They don't. Just in English, they don't. So I said, so let's see if this happens. So I started speaking in Polish, and they started like rapid fire. Like it looked like strobe, as fast as they were being turned on and off when I started speaking in Polish. And so when we stopped, all the lights stopped. But I'm like, so here's an example of one type of flashlight that you can just set down, bump it, and it'll turn on and off. So that one can be debunked. But I had a really hard time debunking the pushing the flashlights
Right.
when we were there. It was much harder to debunk, and they seemed to like that experiment better. And they actually switched over to using the flashlights we were using rather than using the turn ones. So it's something I can't explain. Could it have been electrical, something in there? Well, there was no electricity to the building at the time, so no. But I like that test better than just some of the other ones that you can debunk fairly easily.
Well, that's one of the things I lecture about all the time is flashlight. And again, it was taught from TV, and a lot of people try it. And the thing is, I always say, just what Tom did, if they can manipulate the energy. So put the flashlight there. If they turn it on, they turn it on.
Mhm.
When you just turn the mag light and you just break the connection, you're breaking an electrical connection that's just almost touching. So all you need is 1 degree temperature change, hot or cold, to actually make that touch and go. So if you have it sitting there and you're asking, you know, uh, you female or you male, eventually it's going to touch for a second and you're going to think it's yes. And then you go with that. And, again, could it be? I mean, it's possible, but it's like you said, it's easily debunked. I know that is an electrical connection that is touching every once in a while. So why even bother with that? Because it's not going to be considered real evidence. Put the flashlight there, screw it all the way on, and put it there. And if they want to turn it on, they'll be able to turn it on. That's my my opinion. And those things are the things that I think need to be said out there and pushed. And we all tried. Look, I've tried it. I saw it on the TV. I wanted to see what they were doing, and then I also, with my technology, background, I'm looking at exactly how this can work, how it can falter, and how it could do false positives, and that's what's important. But yeah, the clicking, just put that on, and if it turns that on, then you have something there that's yeah,
Yeah,
something
That's
there
cool.
that's more understandable.
debunk that one. Yeah. So
Yeah.
And Marcus, we've had some interesting stuff with the Ovulus. We would ask the questions. There's like a true or false thing where it has like the line
Mhm.
going up and down, and we're asking like crazy questions like, does it take a lot of energy to present yourself, your true form? And it went true, and then we said, can you show yourself? It said yes, and we're like, will you show yourself? And it said yes, and then nothing happened for a long time, and then all of a sudden we were playing this. It must have been an hour later. We were just on the normal function, no words were going through, and all of a sudden the word surprise came out of it, and we both looked at each other, and then this thing appeared out of the corner of the room and ran in front of us, like illuminated the entire room. And it was probably one of the craziest things him and I ever experienced, and I may have sworn a little bit when that
It
came into
happens.
the room.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, okay, am I going to take everything out of the Ovilus as real? No, but
No.
if it goes along to what you're doing and you can't debunk it, you can't find a logical explanation, then yeah, you could have something there. It's like people ask. Another one is the SLS camera.
Mhm.
The SLS camera is designed to constantly map out the room and look for something that it believes is a person. I've seen it map out people from, like, if you put it in Tom's background there, it would map out from the brick lines. I've seen it do wallpaper. I've seen it do everything possible. And then some people say, well, yeah, but I was telling it to touch my hand and it reached out and touched. Yeah, but the thing, when you have something weird on that screen, it just sits there going like this anyway.
Mhm.
You know, I've only had two ever that I questioned from the SLS camera. And one was the fact that it stood there and it did not move. And then you know how in the corner of the screen, like if there's a person in front of it, up in the corner, it'll actually map out the person around it. It did that when somebody was not in front of that camera. It stood completely still. This was in an abandoned prison in a medical facility. It stood completely still. Nobody was in front of the camera, and it mapped out the actual person around the stick figure, which was odd. And then another one where it was on the screen and then it ran off. So that's different. You know, I can't explain those. I'm not saying it was something, but I can't explain it, you know, but the SLS is extremely flawed because that's what it's programmed. That's what
It's
it's
a
programmed to
Connect
do is
from the Xbox,
yeah.
right? That was what it was.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's the Connect. Yeah, the Connect from the Xbox. And you know, a lot of people, especially with chairs, oh, he's sitting in the chair. You know, it's mapping out the chair. You know, it's just what it's made to do.
And do you
You
have
know,
anything that you have invented that you use?
No.
No? Okay.
I have no, I haven't. I'm not. I've never attempted it. There's so much stuff out there. I mean, I don't know. I don't have that level to start making stuff like that. There's some interesting things out there, and there's people that have a lot of ideas. It's just trying to get it put together the correct way. You know, it's tough because you can't. A lot of that stuff is very hard to prove. You know, there's basic things like EMF energy. We know we could detect EMF energy.
Mm.
You know, um, but yeah, no, I don't have that level of engineering.
There's this one show that was like opening my eyes to a lot of things. The Skinwalker Ranch. Have you ever seen that show?
Yep.
Where
Yeah,
they talk about like the spectrum analyzer and like the readings that it gives off versus when something is actually happening. I'm wondering if that could be, brought into the paranormal field where that analyzer goes, if there's an actual, if we can validate, like you have an experience and then use that device to see in what band something is actually happening, or if there is something happening there. That would be
right.
really interesting to do.
Did you ever see? Did you ever see somebody use a vortex? It,
No.
it's it's really cool. I think I have somewhere on one of my Facebook pages. I was working with War Party Paranormal over here at Yesteryear Village in West Palm Beach, and they started setting up this whole thing. They had cameras all around it, and it's made by. They have a mirror with a laser and a fan that spins it's like a computer fan, and it's plugged into something. It spins, and then the laser hits the fan and creates this giant laser, like almost like a tornado. And then they take out a smoke machine and they run the smoke machine so it goes through the vortex, and they'll start asking questions, doing stuff, and sometimes you will see things come out of it that look like a hand reaching out, or a
Whoa.
face in the smoke. It's a pretty crazy effect. I mean, I don't know what to take of it. I've only seen it once done, but it has some pretty interesting things that come off of it.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. Um, I think we asked basically all the questions that Marcus. Do you have anything else you want to add or first before we ask our guests?
No, that I think they answered all my questions. So that pretty awesome having you guys here. So
Absolutely.
Much.
We appreciate you having us.
And no problem. Bill and Tom, if you have your own, obviously Tom, you have your own podcast. If you guys want to plug the times, yours around and all your socials, feel free to do that now.
Sure. Like I said, it's I'm on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. It's Monday nights, I'm Central Time, so mine is Monday night, 7 p.m. Central, so it's 8 o'clock Eastern. But it's called Stuff I Never Learned from the School Book. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. If you just typed in Stuff I Never Learned, those are the taglines for all of them. That's easy to find me. If you have questions after any of this that you just want to reach out and ask questions to, my Gmail account is stuffineverlearned@gmail.com. Pretty easy to find me. If you guys um, wanted to advertise your stuff on my page, you are more than welcome to. My page is my page. I own it, so no one else. I don't belong to any channels. So if you guys want to advertise beyond the hub on my personal page or my Stuff I Never Learned page, throw it up there. I don't care. I have people do that all the time because I want the more advertising for more of the podcasters to come out, because I believe this is a community that people need to understand. There's more people that they can listen to and talk to and gain information from and gain knowledge from. So feel free to do that if you want to as well.
Thank you. Feel free to join the group that we have too. I know a lot of people would be interested. And that was one of the reasons I started my group, the same as yours, is to bring people together who may have, have these similar experiences, but have no one to share it to.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all those groups are really, really good with everything. People asking questions, people say. I mean, it's good to have people in there who can help and answer your questions, and maybe guide you in a certain way.
Absolutely.
My stuff's pretty easy too. I mean, the easiest for me is my website is just my name, billslevin.com. The team site is P.E.R.S.F.L. so PERSFL.com. All our social media is on there. The only thing I want to say is if anybody's around the Fort Myers area of Florida, I will be there on Saturday. I'm a celebrity guest at Horror Fest. It's a one-day convention from 10 to 5. Be a lot of fun. There's some people there from this guy, Tom McLaughlin, who wrote Friday the 13th, Part 6, and a few other movies. And they're going to have a bunch of stuff there. It'll be a lot of fun. And then, yeah, anything else I have on my site, or, find me on Facebook or anywhere. I'm all over the place.
Very cool. Thank you. I forgot to ask Stephanie and Connie, did they have anything?
You can get them through the team site,
Okay.
or you can get them through Facebook on their personal pages.
If you
Yeah.
I'll jump in here really quick. I know for Stephanie's team, they are Peach State Paranormal, all is one word, peachstateparanormal.com, because they're out of Georgia, so they're the Georgia
Right.
Peaches. But Peach State Paranormal and Connie's, I don't know, but if you just search Connie, especially the way she spells her name, Kahni, she'll pop up all over the place. She falls under Connie Katana. So if you search Connie Katana, even if I believe if you just go to ConnieKatana.com, you'll be able to get to her page as well with all of her stuff.
Right. Usually they're also off of the PERS team page.
Right.
I believe we have everybody's links in the About Us, under everybody's name. So yeah, and like Peach State Paranormal, all three of them are my Georgia team,
Right.
and they have their own name over there, their own team there too.
Perfect. All right. Well, this has been a really cool and very informative conversation. I want to thank you all for joining this, and hopefully we
Thank you
can do
for
this
having us.
again.
I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Marcus,
Hopefully
thank you for your service. Saw that. So
absolutely.
Thank you guys.
All right.
And I'll stay on after, because I got to tell you something. Tom, you might not have heard this too. You could stay on.
I just want
I actually got to go because
Yeah. All right.
I got some stuff. But thank you again, guys. I appreciate it.
no problem. Thanks for being
thank
here.
you.
Shit. I'll talk to you guys later.
We'll see you, Tom.
All right.
See
See you, Tom.
And let me just play my outro, and then we'll join back up in a moment here, guys.
Sure.
And I want to thank everyone for watching. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you all live next Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.